In an age that has been dominated by figures like Mr. Beast, it's hard to believe that not long ago, the highest earning person on YouTube for years was a literal child, pulling in just shy of $30 million a year at their peak, as well as launching their own toy line. Ryan's Toy Review, later rebranded as simply Ryan's World, was one of the most successful YouTube channels to date, despite constantly receiving criticism from people worried about Ryan being exploited for his parents' profit.
If we combine this with the fact that their channel has somewhat of a schedule and uploads almost daily, we can almost be certain that there are days where Ryan doesn't feel like making the content, and would have to be somewhat forced by his parents in order to appear in the videos, which would be an element of the channel's dark side.
Eventually, the inevitable happened. Ryan started growing up, and now the whole world is being quietly shut down around him. And the people closing it aren't the critics, it's his own parents. Not only are views down exponentially, his most recent movie bombed, and it seems like he's being pushed out of the limelight and replaced by his sisters. Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist. I create weekly YouTube documentaries, and today we're breaking down the apocalypse of the Ryan's World empire. When Ryan's Toy Review launched in 2015, there wasn't much separating it from countless other family videos being uploaded to YouTube every day. Ryan was only a few years old, and the premise was incredibly simple. His mother would take him to a store, let him choose a toy, and then film him opening it at home. The videos were unscripted, short, and centered around the genuine excitement any young child would have after getting something new. Then, one video completely changed everything. A video featuring Ryan opening a giant Lightning McQueen egg exploded in popularity, eventually reaching well over 1 billion views. Overnight, the family realized there was an audience unlike anything they could have imagined. The upload schedule immediately changed. Instead of casually uploading every week or two, dozens of videos began appearing every month. The videos themselves became shorter, allowing more uploads with less editing, but the overall amount of filming increased dramatically. What started as a family hobby was quickly turning into a full-time operation. The gamble paid off. Within a year, Ryan's channel had become one of YouTube's fastest growing creators. Millions of subscribers poured in, while billions of views accumulated across the channel. Companies recognized something even more valuable than the audience itself. Ryan had become one of the most influential children in the world. Before long, Ryan wasn't just reviewing toys anymore. He had his own toys sitting on store shelves. Then came books, clothing, toothpaste, backpacks, television shows, mobile games, educational products, and nearly every kind of merchandise imaginable. Ryan's face had become an international brand. The family eventually created their own production company, employing dozens of people dedicated almost entirely to producing Ryan's content. By almost every financial measure, it was one of the greatest success stories YouTube had ever produced. For several consecutive years, Forbes listed Ryan among the highest earning creators on the entire platform, often putting him at number 1. From a business perspective, it was brilliant. From an ethical perspective, people began asking hard questions. As Ryan's popularity exploded, public curiosity naturally shifted towards the people running the business behind him. Viewers wanted to know who Ryan's parents really were, and how much of the empire they actually controlled. That attention intensified in 2019, after news outlets uncovered details about Ryan's mother's past, including a years-old shoplifting conviction that predated the YouTube channel by more than a decade. In all honesty, this was the one thing about Ryan's parents that was blown way out of proportion, and really should not have become the massive news story that it became. There are thousands of things you can criticize Ryan's parents for, but hyper-focusing on some decades-old incident just seems silly. When it comes to children entertainers, the media loves to be hyper-fixated on the lives of those entertainers to see if they have a squeaky clean record, and this is fair to a certain extent. You wouldn't want a convicted PDF file being the guy that entertains your kids. But since the dawn of time, some parents have taken it too far. For example, back in 1991, the actor for Pee Wee Herman, Paul Reubens, was caught with his his Pee-wee out in a theater and arrested. This wasn't because he was creeping on kids or anything. Back in the day, going to theaters like this was just what a lot of people did in order to get their fix in. Keep in mind, this is pre-PH, so it was a lot more common than one might think. Despite this, a lot of hysterical mothers blew this into a massive controversy that got the actor taken off air briefly afterwards. And it wasn't until the Free Pee-wee protests in LA that his position was reinstated. All of this is to say that there are legitimate grievances with Ryan's parents that we will be covering, but this one in particular stands out to me as not really that big of a deal. Anyway, the main concern eventually became whether the adults responsible for one of the world's biggest child brands were making decisions based primarily on Ryan's well-being or on the incredible amount of money surrounding him. Ryan's parents pushed back against those concerns during interviews, insisting that Ryan always came first. They explained they avoided filming moments where he was upset or embarrassed, and maintained they would stop making videos if he ever decided he no longer enjoyed participating. Those statements sounded reasonable. The problem was that the business kept getting bigger. By this point, walking away no longer meant simply deleting a YouTube channel. It meant disrupting a company built around one child. Then, another controversy emerged that had nothing to do with Ryan personally, but everything to do with the audience watching him. Every creator I cover controls how they look and how they sound. Nobody can control how they smell. Fragrance is the one part of your presentation you can't edit in post. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription I've been personally using for the past couple of years. With over 900 designer and niche scents, you get to pick from the selection every month and receive an 8ml vial at your door. Each one of these bad boys contains about 120 sprays, a full 30-day supply. So you're not committing to a $300 bottle that you're going to regret in a week. This month I have Modern Gentleman by Joseph Aboud, Sharp and Classic, Oro Verde by House of Beau, which is clean and green, Mellow Mood by Marley Fragrance, which is smooth and relaxed, good for evenings, and Better Than Your Ex by Confessions of a Rebel, which is bold with an edge. To get the most from your fragrance, make sure you spray your pulse points, your inner wrists, and behind your ears, because your body heat helps project it all day. If you want to be smelling as good as me right now, use code ANARCHIST3 for 55% off your first month. Your first fragrance is $8.97, and the next month is $17.95. Scan the QR code or use the link below. With that being said, let's get back into the video. Consumer advocacy groups filed complaints arguing that Ryan's videos blurred the line between entertainment and advertising. The concern centered on sponsored products appearing inside content designed primarily for preschool-aged children. Adults can usually recognize when they're being advertised to. Young children often cannot. Instead, they simply see another child enjoying a toy and naturally want it themselves. The timing couldn't have been worse. That same year, Google and YouTube agreed to pay a record-breaking $170 million settlement over violations of the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, commonly known as COPPA. The settlement forced significant changes to how children's content operated on the platform, and marked one of the biggest regulatory actions YouTube has ever faced. Around this period, the channel quietly changed its name from Ryan's Toys Review to Ryan's World. At some point, Ryan's World stopped being about documenting a child's excitement and started becoming a machine that needed to keep running. Whether people liked the content or not, it was difficult to argue that he looked anything other than genuinely excited. Years later, that excitement became much harder to find. Instead of introducing random toys, the videos increasingly revolved around Ryan's own products. Mystery eggs, action figures, board games, slime kits, educational toys, costumes, and dozens of other items carrying the Ryan's World branding became regular features. Not only that, but as Ryan was growing up, it seemed the light was starting to leave his eyes. How excited can one be for toys if they've reviewed thousands of them? Instead of the energetic child from the early years, they saw someone who looked like he was repeating lines and trying to recreate emotions that came naturally when he was 4 years old. No one outside the family knows what Ryan was actually thinking during those videos. It's impossible to say whether he wanted to continue filming or whether he simply accepted it as part of everyday life. Ryan has spent almost his entire life in front of cameras. Unlike child actors, whose work is separated from home by movie sets and production schedules. Ryan's childhood was the production schedule. Home and work became almost impossible to separate. For most children, growing up means experimenting with different hobbies, making mistakes, changing interests, and slowly figuring out who they are away from their parents. Ryan did all of that while millions of strangers watched. Every awkward phase, every changing interest, and every year of his childhood became part of an online brand that could never stop moving. Eventually, Ryan reached an age where the original concept simply stopped making sense. A 13-year-old pretending to be amazed by preschool toys is fundamentally different from a 3-year-old genuinely discovering them for the first time. This has been reflected in their metrics, and the numbers are nowhere near where they once were. At its peak, individual uploads regularly reached tens of millions of views, with some passing the billion-view mark. Today, they can sometimes barely crack 100k views, and viewership data shows a steady decline compared to the heights the channel had once reached. The problem is that the business surrounding Ryan was built for preschoolers. During interviews, his parents explained that Ryan's audience is still largely made up of young children between the ages of 5 and 8. At the same time, Ryan himself is getting older and developing completely different interests. That creates a problem with no perfect solution. If Ryan fully grows with his audience, the existing business risks losing the young children who made it successful. If the channel continues targeting preschoolers, Ryan has to keep participating in content designed for kids much younger than himself. Neither option is ideal. Interestingly, the family's own plans suggest they understand this. Rather than depending entirely on Ryan forever, they have started expanding the brand in a different direction. Ryan's younger twin sisters, Emma and Kate, have become increasingly visible within the Ryan's World universe. They now appear in their own animated projects, promotional material, and merchandise aimed at the same demographic Ryan originally attracted. The brand no longer needs Ryan in every project because it has begun creating characters and personalities capable of carrying the audience forward without him. That became even more apparent in 2024 with the release of Ryan's World the movie. The film received a limited theatrical release before arriving on streaming. Looking at any reviews of it show that people think it was essentially a glorified advertisement to sell Ryan's World toys. Financially speaking, it was a box office stink bomb, not even reaching $1 million. There have also been claims circulating online that the movie cost around $10 million to produce. Regardless of the exact numbers, the film clearly failed to become the breakout success that many expected from one of YouTube's biggest franchises. That failure is significant because it highlights something much larger. Ryan's World isn't just competing against other YouTube channels anymore. It's competing against established entertainment companies with decades of experience producing movies, television, and children's programming. Building a successful YouTube channel is one thing. Turning that success into a lasting entertainment franchise is something entirely different. For years, Ryan's World looked unstoppable. Now, for the first time, it looks vulnerable. Not because Ryan failed, but because the business model was always built around a child who was eventually going to grow up. And children always grow up. If this story ended with Ryan simply growing up, it would not be nearly as bad. The real issue is that Ryan became the face of an industry before anyone had figured out how to protect children working in it. For decades, child actors have been protected by labor laws that require portions of their earnings to be placed into protected trust accounts. These rules exist because history has shown that children are often the last people to benefit financially from their own success. The internet changed everything. When Ryan's channel launched in 2015, there were almost no laws addressing children making content on social media. Family vloggers, child influencers, and YouTube families were operating in a legal grey area. Parents could build businesses around their children without many of the regulations that existed in television or film. Ryan wasn't the only child creator working under those conditions. He was simply the biggest. Over the past few years, several states have introduced laws specifically designed designed to protect child influencers. Illinois became the first state to require parents who profit from their children's online content to set aside a percentage of those earnings for the child. California followed with similar protections, and other states including Minnesota and Utah introduced their own legislation addressing children featured in monetized online content. The basic idea behind these laws is simple. If a child is responsible for generating income, that child should legally own a part of it. That sounds obvious today. It wasn't when Ryan built his career. There is another detail that makes Ryan's situation especially unusual. The Kaji family built almost their entire business while living in Texas. Texas had none of those child influencer protections. Even if those newer laws had existed earlier, they would not have applied there. And even if Texas adopted similar legislation tomorrow, it would not be retroactive. The money earned throughout Ryan's childhood would already be beyond reach of those protections. That creates one of the strangest ironies in internet history. Ryan became one of the clearest examples of why child influencer laws were needed. Yet the person who arguably inspired those conversations receives virtually none of their benefits. Legally, there is no public evidence suggesting Ryan's parents violated any laws. That distinction is important. This is not a story about criminal behavior. It is a story about a legal system that failed to keep pace with technology. Hollywood is filled with former child stars who spent years trying to reclaim control over their money, identities, and personal lives after growing up inside industries that viewed them as the primary products. Actors like Macaulay Culkin became famous as children before fighting for financial independence from the adults managing their careers. Mary-Kate Olsen and Ashley Olsen eventually stepped away from acting almost entirely, choosing private lives and different careers after spending their childhoods in front of cameras. Ryan's situation is different in many ways. Unlike those child actors, he did not work for a Hollywood studio. The studio was his family. That makes separating business from personal relationships infinitely more complicated. No outsider can say what Ryan's relationship with his parents is actually like today. No outsider knows how much influence he has over decisions involving his brand. No outsider knows how the money has been managed behind the scenes. Those answers belong to Ryan and his family. At the end of the day, it's impossible to know what is actually going on behind the scenes until Ryan becomes a little bit older, though there was a pretty interesting interview that dropped with him around 2 years ago, but he barely ever speaks in it, and it's his parents talking for 90% of the runtime. Ryan will officially be 18 in 4 years, and it's a pretty safe bet that he will be voicing his opinion once he grows up more. And hey, maybe he'll have nothing but good things to say. It's not totally out of the question that his parents will treat him right and give him what he's rightfully owed. But therein lies the problem. Even if he is given the money, will he think it was worth it? The world of entertainment was not a choice for Ryan as a 3-year-old. It was forced upon him by his parents to create an infinite money-making machine. He essentially lost his entire childhood and any potential to make genuine friends, so his parents could make YouTube videos. Will he really think that part of his life was worth sacrificing for a specific dollar amount? For now, all we can do is wait and see, because it's not a question of if, but when the truth comes out. Speaking of truth coming out, there was a sponsor that tried to get me to lie to you guys. Click the video on screen to learn more. Once again, thank you to Scentbird for sponsoring the video, and make sure to use code Anarchist3 to get 55% off your first bottle.